Good afternoon, everyone. How are we all? Happy Friday. Straight to it. So the news is out that Dillian White is on the way back. I don't know about you. I don't know how much relevance Dillian White has now to the heavyweight division, going on his sort of previous performances, his recent previous performances, his demolition against Tyson Fury, and the way he really didn't show up, did he, against Fury at all? Excuse me, his inactivity is another thing. There's sort of talk that did Dillian White serve a small ban in that time he's been away, and it's just not been made public. I'm sure that wouldn't have been able to be kept that quiet if it had, but Ade Oladipo made a good point that if you look at the fact that he lost out on the Joshua fight, and had he lost that, and I'd have expected him to lose that, but had he lost that in a kind of decent manner, unless he got sort of sparked out really early, he would have been in on the Saudi sort of party, wouldn't he? And how much money has he lost, considering he's missed the Saudi boat? And as an extension of that, I don't know about you, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. Would we have seen Dillian White fight again had it not been this transition into Saudi and the immense amounts of money you can earn out there, especially as a heavyweight? They like to favour the heavyweight attractions. And is his comeback prompted by the fact that, the opportunity is now open to prominent heavyweights out in Saudi? And does he want to cash in on some of that Saudi gold? You wouldn't blame him for doing so, would you? But is that the sole motivation for the comeback? Who knows? Wouldn't surprise me. But where do you see Dillian White's place now in the current crop of heavyweights? I think he struggled, wouldn't he? Would you pick him against a Zhang or a Hrgovic even? And I've made no secret of the fact that I'm not the biggest fan of Hrgovic. I don't rate him that highly, but Dillian White is, we've kind of seen his level, haven't we? But Dillian White on the comeback. The whole card for the Knockout Chaos has been revealed, hasn't it? And for me personally, in terms of personal interest, this is a 3-fight card. Nick Ball against Vargas. Again, I've said it before, I'm a massive fan of Nick Ball, so I'm really made up that he's got the chance to fight for a world title, and I'm backing him 100%. I really like Nick Ball, love everything he does, love how polished he is, love how sort of technically correct and how well he does stuff. I just think he's a wonderfully schooled, really nice fighter to watch. Kind of a bit of a throwback, but I think he's a real talent, and I really like the way he goes about his business. And I'm a big fan of Nick Ball, so I really hope Nick Ball can win that world title. And I'm really excited to see that. Like I said, Nick Ball, Vargas, Zhang against Parker, and obviously the headline. They're really the sort of the main interests for me on this card. What can we take from the most recent performances of Francis Ngannou and Anthony Joshua? First of all, let's take Francis Ngannou. We kind of have to look at how bad Fury was, don't we? And Fury was terrible and still won. So let's not remember, for how good Ngannou was, he still lost. Now, there were two things that surprised me about that Francis Ngannou performance. And the most obvious one is the thing that surprised us all, and that was his really good level of fundamental boxing skills. His really good he's really good understanding and employment of the basics, which were very good. But other than the surprise at how good his boxing skills and his boxing fundamentals were, the thing that shocked me was I expected a killer to come out with a mentality like Mike Tyson and come out and try and absolutely take the head off Tyson Fury. I was surprised with how little aggression he showed, because for me, he didn't look like a killer in there to me. The knockdown was a bit of a flash knockdown, but I really expected him to come out to try and seek and destroy. And I suppose that's what led to the surprise and what showed us how good his boxing skills were. Because for the majority of the time, he kind of elected to box Tyson Fury, which was a surprise to me, because I expected him to come out and sort of be a headhunter and a destroyer, and that wasn't what we got. I think he struggled with the boxing distance. Not so much the 3-minute rounds, but the fact there were 10 of them. I think he struggled, and for a lot of rounds, he didn't do a lot, and he didn't do a lot offensively, did he? I mean, that was what allowed Tyson to sort of steal rounds when Tyson sort of went on the back foot and elected to box him. and he didn't do a lot. He certainly didn't do enough to win rounds for me. I really only give him two clear rounds, which were the obvious ones, 3 and 8. So on his last performance, and going into the Joshua fight, do we think it'll be better? Do we think he'll do it? We'll see a different approach. Will he go in with the killer and try and take Joshua out rather than sort of trying to box well and wait for an organic sort of big shot or knockout opportunity to come, which is kind of like what he seemed to do against Fury. I mean, in the third round after the knockdown, he didn't apply pressure. He stepped off, and that was kind of almost in the manner of almost happy to sit back and admire his work and be happy with the fact that he achieved a knockdown. And then even in round 8, which was a big round for him, I've seen more one-sided rounds with the aggressor being more aggressive than I have in Ngannou. So, he's painted as this, the harness puncher in combat sports and all that, which kind of gives the impression of him being an out-and-out killer, but he didn't show that against Fury. So what do we know about Ngannou about this point? The fact that he's asked for the 10 frees, not 12 frees in this fight, and the fact that he wants to come in a bit lighter suggests to me that he knows himself he's struggled with the distance. Certainly knows himself that he struggled with the distance to box at an output, at a high output. I don't believe he did box at a high output. I believe he boxed at quite a low output, regardless of what the punch stats will sort of say. But I do think he struggles. I think he struggles with a cardio level going over that distance. So that we will see. So, going on the Fury fight, he's got decent fundamentals. He's a good boxer. He does all the basics very well. Did he give an impression of you'd be fearful of that punch power? To me, he didn't really show that much in that fight. So, what can I draw from it? He's a good, basic, fundamental boxer. You're not going to expect a high, massive output from him, I don't think. I don't think he's capable of it. Just the sheer size of the guy. He's a massive lump, isn't he? And there's not much water going from it unless he turns up different and more aggressive against Joshua. But it just begs the question to me, why wasn't he super aggressive against Fury? I don't know. I mean, being more aggressive against Joshua, maybe because he's under the impression that Joshua is more vulnerable than Fury. But Joshua's a bigger puncher than Fury, so being more offensive against Joshua could be more detrimental to him. He could walk onto something, and Joshua would easily walk him onto something. So, yeah, that's it with Ngannou. And Joshua, now we go back to the old misnomer of old Joshua, new Joshua. And as I've said it before, this is just an evolved Joshua. As humans, as in life, as in your professional business, you evolve through experience, and he's evolved through the experiences of getting stopped in the brutal stoppage he got in the Andy Ruiz fight. But he's now essentially a box puncher or a offensive counter puncher almost, which he's very good at now and he's underrated at. There is an argument for saying, I've had it leveled that like the Joshua performance against Wallin was very much like the Parker against Wilder fight, in which Wallin didn't really do a lot. The difference for me is that from the halfway through the first round, about 1 minute 15 in the first round, Joshua hit Wallin with a body shot that crippled him, that he disguised really well. And from that point on, that really took most of the fight out of Wallin. The difference between the two is Fury never landed that shot early, or Parker never landed that shot early that deterred Wilder. Wilder was deterred before he even got in the ring. So for me, they're the differences. But now with Joshua, we have a more measured, a more calculated, and a more careful Joshua, because he knows his frailties, he knows his vulnerabilities, so he's kind of safety first. And I don't see a problem with that. Lennox Lewis took the same approach after his knockout losses. Yeah, anti-Joshua, calculated, measured, doesn't take unnecessary risks, and applies the pressure when he feels it's safe to do so. Yeah, the old Joshua, new Joshua thing, it's an evolved Joshua. So Joshua just learned and gone on. And he's a better fighter for it. Technically, he's pretty sound. Yeah, that's kind of where they are currently. I'm going to leave it there today, and I'm going to do a full in-depth breakdown and preview and prediction of that fight to come. But that was it today. Hope you're good. I'll see you all soon. Happy weekend.